Welcome to MedShark Insider with Bill Fukui, your expert host on all things medical marketing and SEO.
Well, good morning, everybody. I want to welcome you to another episode of MedShark's Insider. It is a program where we share information about medical marketing, and it's not just my perspective, it's the perspective of other experts that we bring on board. As you guys probably know, we've shared information on SEO and pay-per-click advertising. Today, I want to talk about a topic that I would say isn't necessarily our strength. That's why I've brought on some experts that I've known for many, many years when it comes to visual content. So today's topic is really how do we master and leverage visual content in today's online world, because it's definitely changed since my guest Candace and I first started doing this many years ago. So I have with me Candace Crowe, who is the founder of Candace Crowe Design. And I also have TK Crowe, who is the VP of Candace Crowe Design. And they both have many years of experience in working with plastic surgeons in dermatology and other aesthetic practices. And I would say myself, Candace kind of set the bar many years ago as the expert when it came to pioneering aesthetic marketing and the image that practices need to project. She was the first one to, in my world, that really kind of grasped and understood that. And she's taken that along with TK to the next level in some of the services that they've offered. And I also want to share some of the things that they're doing because I think it's important. So welcome to the show, guys. I'm sorry about being a little long-winded there.
No,
Thanks,
you.
Bill.
Thank you. It's an honor to be here, Bill.
Yeah. So Candace, I know we've been doing this for, the better part of almost 30 years, right? When it comes to long before there was an internet, you were doing a lot of the print and other types of collateral materials and such that practices for many years just relied on the society to give them their stuff, and it was so generic. You kind of took it to the next level. Why did you start doing that? I mean, what inspired you to do this in this society?
Oh boy. Oh gosh. I'll tell you the real story. How about that? So I ended up with four young kids I needed to figure out how to make an income for. I was a graphic designer working out of my house, and they were aged 3 to 13, and I started, pounding the pavement with my portfolio, and I ended up with a plastic surgery client. And Debbie Boyd, she worked for Marie Olison and Karen Zupko, and we hit it off, and we figured out, the internet was just starting then, and we figured out that, we went through the database and we could cull some of the emails and be very specific about a message to this specific group of people about Valentine's Day or this or that. We just really did a good job. And then I kind of rolled into patient education because I watched this I won't say it, one of the society videos of a man in a white lab coat standing, talking down to a breast augmentation patient. I mean, seriously, I feel, oh my gosh, that is not the way to talk to them. No, you are out of place.
Yes.
So you go to the powder room, girls will actually let other women feel what it feels like, because they need to know what about the scars and this and that. And so we did patient education based on that, and early in 2002, and TK was actually part of this. We were working from home. He and Austin and the other boys would proofread my work and come behind me and say, hey, you can do this better or that better. And we developed the first patient education touchscreen kiosk in the industry.
Yeah. And I do remember that stuff. That content was really cutting edge, right?
And
I think No, I was just going to say, I think it kind of laid the groundwork for what is standard today. You almost have to have that type of, messaging then, because today's audience has kind of changed, obviously, but the kind of content that they're looking for, um, TK, I know you were one of the co-creators of one of the platforms that you guys created, which is Bragbook, right? Bragbook, which is, and I'm going to give you guys an opportunity to share more about why you did that, what it does, and why an agency like MedShark Digital actually uses it, right, for our clients, right? So I want to get into that, but in terms of content, you've been in this business for 15, 20 years yourself. When it comes to content, we've always said, because I come from the SEO background, content is king. Content.
Yeah.
I still believe that content does have absolutely a major role in what we're doing online. But what do you see as maybe changes in the kind of content that people consume, how to best leverage that for practices?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I've been around for almost 15 years. And before that, following my mom around to different trade shows. So I've really seen the industry kind of grow up in a way and become more professional when it comes to their marketing and their branding and everything. And, this question reminds me of, I don't know, probably when I was 12, 15 years ago, when social media was first kind of coming onto the scene. And everybody was saying things like email marketing is dead, print marketing is dead. And it just, every so often new marketing channels come out and they kind of say out with the old, in with the new. Right. But for content, it's not really like that. I mean, we're in a kind of world where everything's changing towards these AI, LLM models and stuff, but they have to have something to reference. If there's nothing to reference, they have nothing to spit out. So content is probably more important now than it's ever been. And, people will do their research on the AI tools, but they want to go to your website and check you out and see your, digital office and make sure it looks professional and clean and well organized. And you offer the services that they have, and so content is definitely still king. It has changed. It's no longer just a 1,500 word text document. You want to incorporate visuals into it. You want to make it easily digestible. And then, a lot of maybe this is a point of contention, but, your service pages are great for SEO. But when they find out that you offer that service that they are looking for, they want to go see results. And so you want to incorporate those results into those service pages and make it easily findable, so that the person that's looking for a facelift or a mommy makeover is able to, find you and then go into your results gallery and look through and check you out and make sure the results match up with the quality of your website, your SEO.
You bring up a really good point, TK, when it comes to those service pages, right? Because when people search for, say, breast augmentation, surgeon or whatnot, and they're looking for a provider locally, right? They look up breast augmentation or tummy tuck, whatever it is, and those service pages are many times what shows up. It's not always the homepage. In fact, it's rarely the homepage. It's the procedure pages that they're interested in actually ranks. So in that case, those internal pages become the entry to your practice, right? Immediately, that's your branding, right? So even those internal pages need to be designed. That's why I see when I look at Candace's websites that they've designed and such, it's that branding, not only just of the homepage, but even the internal pages have design value, right? But definitely making it more visual so that people can digest, not only just digest and go learn about this stuff. We need for them to get excited about it. We need for them to get motivated and help elevate that, ready to take the next step. In addition to being more learned about the topic and being more confident about talking to a provider about it, right? Those images on those pages not only break up text, but they add emotional value. It's like when Candace, you remember those days when we used to get a physical newspaper, right? Studies were showing that the articles that got the most widely read and the articles that people comprehended the substance of the information were the articles that had a picture with it, because they can mentally visualize this information. And I don't think that's too different than, our web pages. So getting them to those before and afters, like if they want to see proofs of your work, put a sample of that on the page. It doesn't have to be overly graphic or whatever, but have it so that they know what it is, and it's almost the next step. Click on it, and then they can go to the gallery. I think those leveraging photos and images of your work, we all know that's studies show that's where people spend most of their time, right?
Yep.
When they go to their website. So you had mentioned social media. Social media really kind of changed a lot of what we do online, right? And how consumers digest this kind of content. When it comes to websites, how do you guys look at social media content, photos, and those kinds of things in terms of integrating that? Because that's the buzzword now. You got to integrate everything. Everything's got to work together. How do you guys integrate, social media and imagery and the stuff that you guys are producing in a snapshot? I mean, there's a lot of things you can talk about there, but what would you say would be important things for our audience?
Go ahead, TK.
Well, I think social media is great, and there's definitely a place for it. But I think it's kind of become the garage that's been filled up with a bunch of junk. And so I would really caution practices to just straight up take what they're posting on social media and slap it on their website and be done with it. Your website is your digital representation of your brand, of your expertise. Now, there are things that you can use from social media. I see a lot of really great short form content in terms of kind of explaining procedure results or explaining different non-surgical, treatments. So I think there is a place for some of the social media content to go onto your website. On service pages, it's great to have, video of especially of the doctor kind of explaining different things about the techniques that he uses, or even, his the consultation process. I wouldn't say that we take stuff straight from social media and just slap it on the website, but there is a place for, kind of using social media to influence, to, kind of help build out your website. I hope I answered that okay.
Yeah. Candace, did you have any thoughts?
Yeah, as you were talking about branding and everything, Bill, I was thinking about this earlier today, and websites, and before websites we had billboards, we went shopping in malls, and there were displays in the windows, right? Those were the things that they took really care for. And they dressed those windows. As I think about driving down University Boulevard out here, which hotels, which restaurants have a brand that I go, I know that place, I feel good about that place, I want to go in that place. And that to me would be a website. Now you go in that place and there's a bulletin board in the back, and there's all these little business cards and all these little post-ups. That's social media.
I've never looked at it that way, but you're right. The website is your storefront. I mean,
yeah, you want to dress it, make sure that all entryways are primed well for a welcome. it's spit shined, and then social media can be a little messier. It
Mm-hmm.
can be a little more organic and all that, but like grocery stores pay a lot of money to have thought about what's in this the reach area,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yep.
And a lot of money on how many options they have, and more options don't mean more sales. They actually mean less sales. That it's a lot of social in evaluation to do before you just kind of throw everything on the wall and expect
Yeah.
it to work. It's like, no, I want to do this well.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of like our company. We want to do before and after galleries really, really well.
Right.
Yes, we do websites. We don't do social. We
Yeah.
really don't. We kind of help
We
when they have to make us, they make us kind of, but we just do what we do well.
Yeah. No, and one of the things that you kind of mentioned, and actually TK did as well, is this, um, that there's a place for um, custom photography or social media and all those kinds of things. But for years, we know that most of these really what we would say very aesthetic looking websites were all stock photography.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Stock photography. And then we transitioned to where everybody's like, oh, get rid of stock. Nobody wants stock. It's got to be custom. So a lot of practice start investing in custom photography. But I have to say that when they just use their own custom photography many times, it doesn't look like that pretty storefront.
Mm-hmm.
What would you say as Candace, from your experience doing website design work, does stock photography still have a role, right? Does it have a role in today's online website development? And where does that fit in with custom production?
So TK and I talked about this just a little bit before, so I'm going to let him start that and I'll finish it. But
Okay.
definitely, it is a great topic to talk about because it is evolving.
Yeah, so it is really hard to recreate the production quality of a stock
Yeah.
photograph. The people that shoot those are professional photographers that have all of the setup to put the subject of the photo in the right lighting with the perfect backdrop and everything. So it's really hard to recreate that professional quality. You can do a lot of really good stuff with with custom photo or practice photo shoots. It is The quality control is a lot harder because if you don't have somebody art directing that photo shoot that knows what they're doing, I've seen practices come back where there's a outlet in the back of the photo and it's a great photo, but now we have to Photoshop out that outlet. So there's a lot more room for kind of I don't want to say amateur-ishness, but there is, I think a good balance of the two is important. It's really nice to go to a website and see the people that you're going to be interacting with at the practice. It's also really important to create a professional, in 2025 we call it a vibe, but to create a professional feeling for that website. So I think a good balance of the two. If you can establish a relationship with quite often it's not the photo, it's the photographer that brings out the subject of that photo. So if you can establish a relationship with a good photographer in town that you trust, and every 2 to 3 years you get a custom photo shoot, you can refresh your website with those photos. I think that's a great option, but I would not stray away from using stock photography. If you work with a good designer, a good agency, they're going to be able to cull through thousands and thousands of photos and create a collection of photos that represent you well and that don't, they're stock photos, but they don't look extra stock, what we call stocky.
Mm-hmm.
So, I think a balance of the two. Time is a huge issue with practices. It's really hard to schedule something with a custom photographer and then, to have everybody show up and get makeup done and look their best. And then sometimes, some photos turn out really well and some don't. So I would say custom practice photography is a nice to have. It's not a must have.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Candace?
Absolutely. And then, like professional photo shoots, they have trained models.
Oh, yeah.
And quite often, without that, the shoot will fall flat unless you have a photographer that can actually pose them and, help them feel comfortable. But not everybody, it looks beautiful on the camera.
Yeah.
But I do want to say on this stock photography, though, there's a website, TinEye, TINEYE,
Mm-hmm.
that you can take a photo up and put it in there, and it will tell you just how many other practices use that exact photo.
Mm-hmm.
So I always say, hey, look for some photos that, are a little bit more unused, and then be creative with them. You might be able to with photo editing tools today. Oh my gosh,
Yeah.
the world is, you may be able to make a montage or do something, put a filter on that, or create a black and white and then put color in the cheeks, or there's just unlimited stuff you can do with a stock photo today. But the better the images, the more creative it is, the better the lights and darks
Mm-hmm.
that you start with.
Right.
You'll be able to, or just go paint one yourself and
Yeah, well, I think, I'll go back to your storefront imagery. It's like great that you have custom stuff, and it is about how quickly can I get this sense of likability where people like us, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I do see the value of custom photography, definitely custom video if you're a provider and people, and if you can get releases and patients willing to talk about the practice, talk about their procedure and treatments,
Mm-hmm.
huge value in those types of things. But to say that that's all that's in there, I think you're right. That first, when they come there, go inside the front door, it's got to be compelling enough where they do go inside. Otherwise, they
Mm-hmm.
never go inside, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's got to be something that, and I think with today's ability to get really good stock photography, I think instead of saying, is it better to use stock or custom, it's practices really have to understand who they are,
Mm-hmm.
right? They have to understand their brand, where custom photography fits in with that, and also what kind of stock photography really radiates or projects who I am, or what,
Mm-hmm.
how I envision myself, right? And I know Candace was always good when she talked to clients about how to get that out of them, right?
Mm-hmm.
How to get that. It's a touchy-feely thing, right? But it's a tough thing for practices to really understand their own brand.
so it's so hard to get outside of yourself, Bill. It's like, I'm not the most important person in this relationship.
Yes.
And the website is for your patients.
Yeah.
And
Good point.
like and it's okay. It's okay to have 5 pictures of the doctor on the homepage. It's okay. Some of those look really, really good.
Yeah.
These photo shoots today of the doctors are, oh my gosh, they're like, whoa,
Yeah.
spectacular. But
Yeah.
and that might get a certain kind of clientele, or it does get a certain kind of, it all
Mhm.
depends on what kind of people you're trying to attract, what kind of person you are. Like, you know, different brands attract different people.
Yeah.
Victoria's Secret attracts a certain brand. Other brands, Dillard's attracts a different brand.
Yeah. No, and
Panera Bread doesn't do well anymore. They tried to attract everybody, and they kind of
they don't attract anybody.
that away. And Cracker Barrel tried changing their
Oh,
logo.
interesting. Yes.
So,
You
that
know,
was
the whole concept, I think, you make a great point. Instead of step outside of this is not about you. When you're the website, it really is about your patients and what kind of messaging and who makes for good patients for you, right? Who makes for good patients and kind of what is it that they're looking for along with what you guys do, right? It's a combination. And I even with TK's mention of, you can do custom photography and continue doing it. Don't just do it one time and then 20 years later you decide, oh, well, I'm going to sell my practice. Let me do a custom photo. It's an iteration. It's ongoing, and it could be done in phases, right? If you do mainly stock photography on everything, great. Maybe we can start incorporating some custom photography on some of those internal pages, right? That are more informational. Now I can have images of doctor maybe consulting or holding implants, consulting with the patient or something on those internal pages that kind of tell what to expect, kind of visually what to expect in a consultation, etc. But I like the idea. Maybe it just, as TK said, just do it in phases. Don't It doesn't have to be all or nothing, right? And it's a combination. I love the idea because I've always liked your guys' taste in imagery. When I've seen your guys' work, you guys are really good at projecting kind of emotion more than just photographs. It's emotional, right? How do we make the website emotional? I'm going to jump to a different topic because I do think practices that do invest in custom photography, when we say we need your photos, the very first thing that comes to mind is their before and afters. And because that's so important in today's online marketing for aesthetics, it's amazing how many practices I still get. One practice, actually, I just started working with 2 weeks ago. The reason he wanted to work with us wasn't because of our SEO and all the things that I think are really our strongest areas. But he wanted a website. He liked our website designs and such, but he needed to add a photo gallery. And this practice has been in practice for over a decade, right? And they still did not have a before and after gallery on their website, right? Amazing as that may seem, it happens a lot more than you think.
Not uncommon.
And especially not just in plastic surgery, but now that we're talking about dermatology and some of these, med spas even, they didn't have before and afters, or really never felt like they needed to invest in them, right? Or some of the old school bit, well, that, I don't want to deal with patients and getting releases or HIPAA or, any of this other stuff. So they just kind of avoid it. What do you see when you're saying the role of for a practice that hasn't really leveraged before and afters effectively? What would you say? Does it still play a major role, knowing that social media influence and all this other stuff? Where does the role of before and afters fall in terms of how important is that in the sale of a practice, right? Selling a practice as service.
Well, TK's going to start on this one, and I'm going to...
Where do you, I mean, there's so many things to say about this. Every single website that I look at, the analytics for, the before and after gallery is the number 2 or the number 3 most visited page of every single website. Plastic surgery, dermatology, even cosmetic dentistry is such a visual result that not having before and afters on your website is, it is not unheard of, but it is wild to me that in 2025 practices don't have before and afters, because it's probably, besides your reviews and getting found well in Google search, is probably the most important factor in someone picking you over picking someone else. Taking photos is a skill. And getting good photos requires time, requires training, requires discipline. And so it is not easy. But the value of having a really well developed, wide ranging before and after gallery is almost priceless. I mean, you can't, these surgeons and providers spend so much time in school, and to not have that representation of your work on your website is really doing your practice a disservice and your potential patients a disservice. So I think it's becoming a lot bigger portion of websites today than it was 10, 15 years ago. And there really is an excuse for not having a before and after gallery on your website.
Completely agree.
Yeah.
Completely agree.
Yeah. So, Bill, let's pretend you're hiring somebody and you're looking at their resume and they don't have any experience. They have some education.
Yeah.
And they might have even gotten all A's and made the dean's list, but there's no experience.
Yeah.
You might give them a try, but they're going to make less money and you're not going to expect as much out of them. And before and afters are basically your portfolio. It's proof of your expertise. And I was thinking about it the other day and trying to figure out something that might relate to a doctor, and I just thought, well, would somebody actually sign up for a residency under a doctor that didn't have any before and after photos?
That's a question. That's a good question.
I don't know.
Legitimate question.
Yeah, so like, why would you expect a patient to choose you if you don't have proof of your work? So that's kind of where I fall.
No, and you know what? And I like the analogy. What I would say is, if they didn't have experience, boy, I wouldn't have them do important things, right? You know, and surgery. Let's face it, that's important. Right?
Yeah. And so much of internet marketing is about building trust.
Yeah.
And we talked about this when we spoke on our podcast, Bill, and not having before and after photos on your website is not building trust with your potential patients. They want to be able to see if that provider can create the result they want, and they want to see someone that looks like them with the result they want. So if you don't have that on your website, you're communicating to that patient that you're not able to deliver on the service that you came up number 1 for on Google.
Right.
So it's of the utmost importance.
Isn't it part of the EAT score too, Bill?
It does. Well, Google does. Google looks at everything, right? Google, and I noticed on Bragbook there is the ability to put alt image tags and label things for SEO purposes, right? No question, Google sees value in video and visual content, right? And even pages that it just recognizes it has it adds more what it would call user experience value, right? Because people, they understand that it's visual, right? They consume information better when it's visual. They connect text with visuals. Their comprehension increases. Google's smart when it comes to that. So it does put weight on pages that have really good content, but also imagery, optimized photos, videos, things like that helps support that content. So great point. Now that we're talking about galleries, there's TK mentioned about, it being got to be consistent. It's not easy. You got to make an investment here, those types of things, right? This is many times when I have practices say, oh, well, we'll contribute blogs, we'll contribute this. The most important thing you can contribute to your own marketing is, number 1, reviews, and number 2, your photos, right? That's where you can contribute the most and have the most impact on your business, is those two areas. Now, when it comes to photos, I see a huge variation between galleries that are, man, these are really nice, these are really good, and those that are, they look kind of dated, look a little old. In fact, they probably are old, looking at whether it's the clothing that they're wearing or the hairstyle of the person in the picture. That's probably 15, 20-year-old photos, right? So, well, as an expert in that, how would you consult with a practice in terms of what do we need to do to improve the quality of our photos? What can we do to get our photos better than what we have?
Yeah. Well, I'd like to circle back to one of the first points that we talked about, and we said content is king. And when we talk to plastic surgery practices, the piece of content that they're able to create day in and day out without even going outside of their normal business operations is before and after photos. So the first thing I would tell them is that they need to make taking quality before and after photos part of the culture of their practice. Quite often it is the surgeon, the physician that is the gatekeeper on taking before and after photos. And that's great because they are perfectionists and they generally get high quality images. But if you really want to be able to create, to get a lot of before and after photos and build out the type of gallery that a really high performing practice deserves, you need other people there to help support you. So members of the staff need to be trained on taking before and after photos. It needs to come up at staff meetings. You need to practice, you can practice taking before and after photos, 30 minutes a week, every week for 10 weeks and get everybody trained so that when that doctor is running behind schedule, someone else is able to go in there and get a consistent, good photo. So taking quality before and after photos part of the culture would be number one. And then secondly would be getting a decent setup. I see so many different, you can spend a lot of money creating a before and after room or a before and after wall in every single exam room of your practice. You can also get really good at taking a photo on your phone. I don't really like the phone photos, but if you're consistent about the distance, the lighting, you can get good quality photos on your phone. So creating the right environment for getting good photos, whether that is a pull down backdrop on a wall with some lighting hanging from the ceiling and a little X on the ground where you stand to take that photo, just get consistent with the actual process of taking the photo. And then, there are really great tools out there for storing and, putting the photos in your EMR, but you got to use the system that works for you. Not everybody is going to be a high-end techie that can take it with the really cool software and then, hit send and send it to their EMR and hit send. That might not be the right system for you. Maybe you have a DSLR camera and at the end of the day, you take out that memory stick, you plug it into your laptop and you go through the photos and you say, this one's good, this one's good, this one's good. I'm going to send the rest to my, practice manager to add to the patient charts. Everybody's a little bit different. So find the system that works for you. If you have like a $10,000, $20,000 camera sitting in your, exam rooms, but it's never getting used, it's no good. Maybe a phone is better for you. So yeah, those are the kind of things I would tell a practice, and right. I could probably preach on for another 20 minutes, but I'll let Candace go.
So TK was telling me, we both cycle quite a bit, but people go, oh, what's the best bike?
Right.
TK goes, well, the one that you ride is the best bike.
Well said.
Yeah. So, gosh, dang, I had so many thoughts while you were talking and they're all gone. So I think you said that well.
No, I think, TK, when you're talking about photos and the quality of the photos, and where to invest, where do I start? Where do I invest in terms of equipment or whatnot? I will tell practices, in general, if you're going to invest in anything, the least expensive thing that's going to make the greatest impact is lighting. lighting more than having the highest quality camera, this $10,000, camera. It's only as good as what's coming in it, right? And what's coming in it is dependent upon the lighting of the subject, shadows, to give it depth, those kinds of things. So I think if I had any suggestion to a practice that says, well, what should I invest in? I would say start with lighting, and lighting's cheap. Lighting is very inexpensive relative to other types of photographic equipment. It's the one thing, but just find the space. Like you were saying, that's a challenge in a lot of practices. Where are we going to take these photos? I would say find a good place, like you said, to be consistent so that and everything is marked. I want for every breast dog, I want the camera at this height, I want it at this angle, and all of my facial patients, I want here, I want close up, this is where we need to be for that, and have all those kinds of things.
So we've done a couple of podcasts with some people for setup for photography, because you can't really do a great before and after gallery unless you have good photography, so that comes into play quite a bit. And I can give you the links to that, but Raghu Authry had Dr. Raghu had some very interesting way of putting it. He goes, go down to the Rolex store, look at their brochure. A Rolex may cost $8,000 to $10,000, and your facelift costs $30,000. And look at the photography on that brochure, and then look at your before and after photos and see if there's a disconnect. Come on. Like I have doctors that'll buy a Christmas gown for their whatever before they spend any money on a before and after photo. It has to be, they have to know the worth of it. And, every dollar saved on a good photographer is $50 saved on photo editing. And we don't want to go to the photo editing world, because I want to be able to introduce a unedited, authentic before and after photo that isn't AI
untouched, right? It's untouched, especially now that we're entering this world of artificial photography, right? I completely agree. In fact, I would even say in today's world in galleries, it should say untouched. Right? Because now the question is, consumers are out there thinking, I wonder if these have been, years ago we'd say airbrushed, right? Oh, that's been airbrushed or whatever. Now it's like they don't know if anything's real, right? So it is telling people that they're real. A question when it comes to if somebody invests in this stuff, right? I'm gonna now be more consistent. I've got my team. We're all behind this thing, and my photos are going to be so much better. What about those old photos that are in there? Do they keep them? Do they cull them out? What do you recommend? Because I know a lot of surgeons like, oh, I love that picture, but I'm like, oh, that's not really that good. But in their mind, because they know the patient and they know what kind of outcome they had and everything, they're really passionate about it. How do you tell, or what do you do? Is more, just more better? Just add more to what you currently have?
Yeah, I mean, I would say in a general sense, more is better. I like to tell doctors that are considering using the gallery system that we have that the patients judge you on the quality of the result. They judge your experience by the quantity of results, and then they judge the professionalism of the practice by the quality of the presentation of those photos. So when we work with people that have, and it's very often that they have old photos, to build up a library of newer ones, and as you're able to replace those old ones, slowly cull them out. Now, if some of those old results are just simply phenomenal, I wouldn't tell you. I would say keep those in. But if they look, if you have 100 photos and 25 of them are scanned images from 2005, it's time to move on from those. And the only caveat is that unless the result is just like phenomenal, then you can kind of keep it in. But I would encourage practices to kind of, use the tools that we have available to us today to build a high quality before and after gallery.
Yeah.
And if they use proper standards, if the hair is pulled back, if there's no earrings, if there's, a backdrop, if they use all the professional standards, those and high quality images, those differences aren't going to be as pronounced as unless they use like a Polaroid and then send the Polaroid.
Yeah. One of the other last things I'm going to ask you guys is we started using Bragbook as an agency.
Yeah.
Because we had a couple of clients using it, and then we realized, clients love it, love using it. And the one thing that, TK kind of mentioned is you got to use it, right? It's, and I will say practices want to invest in their own stuff, right? They want to be able to do stuff. But not only that, but making this gallery process easier, right? Was one of the things that I said. In fact, I told you, Candace, years ago, before we even started working with you guys, I said, we should be using this because it takes website designers forever to create those galleries. That's the biggest barrier. And we have a platform here that we can easily, shorten the development time to get a website live, and also leverage it for some of the features it has. So give us a little bit of background, our audience, a little bit of background about Bragbook, and what is it, and how can practices use it, regardless of, in many cases, the WordPress or other types of, platforms. How can they leverage that?
So I'll start and let TK finish this one. So, I've always really loved my client or the patient, right? I want to empower them. I do not like it when they get taken advantage of. So they just don't know what they don't know about their before and after gallery. So that's one, we've been doing Bragbook for over 15 years, but the new Bragbook has a dashboard, and business owners and managers in 30 seconds will know exactly how many cases are uploaded, what the quality score is of those cases. All of them have different points for different aspects of quality, the number of leads they have. They have uploads over time. We'd have these questions asked, well, how do I know if my manager is getting before and after photos on our website? They'd have to go look or check or this or that, and then they just wouldn't do it. So it has uploads over time. So again, in 30 seconds, they know that they're doing it, and it has a number of views, and it has like different things like the most favorited photos. Like, wouldn't you want to know which favorite photos are the most popular? Then you create social posts from those, the most viewed photos, and that kind of thing. So really, truly that, and then a great presentation. And I would say that Instagram has changed the way we look at before and after photos. We're not just going to put up with another clunky before and after gallery, and it has totally changed the way we have developed the new Bragbook. And it is absolutely gorgeous. There's so many different ways to set it up, where you can have just wall-to-wall images, these cards, everything is nice and uniform, or you can have the mosaic where the cards just shuffle, and it's just absolutely mind-blowing what, the difference between what you can have today and what you could have had even a year ago.
Right.
A year ago, we weren't even doing these tiles, and now they're just, we had a couple doctors say, hey, I just want it to look like Instagram. And we studied Instagram, and you can have Instagram on your Instagram look on your gallery. All right, so TK, go right ahead.
Yeah, BragBook came out of a product that we built, I don't know, 15 years ago, and it was the most used part of that product. So we split it off and built it over a period, and built the first version over a period of 10 or 12 years. And over the last year and a half, 2 years, we've been rebuilding, and BragBook V2 is what we call it now. And like Candace was saying, the dashboard, as soon as you log in, you get a good sense of how your gallery is performing, what kind of photos are getting seen, but it also really just streamlines the process of putting photos onto a website. It has cropping and censoring tools so that you can, if maybe the framing on one photo was a little off, you can recenter it so that the before and after cases are consistent. The My Favorites part of the gallery is essentially like a wish list on a shopping site. Users are able to create accounts, select their favorite photos, and then you get a lead email that so-and-so has come in to the website or to the gallery, created this, selection of photos, and you're able to kind of discuss that during their consultation. So it's also engagement with the website, which is nice. So it's a before and after gallery, or it's a professional image gallery geared towards before and after photos.
Yeah. No, and I love the idea of making it, number one, relative to today's online. We talked about social media, Instagram, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's mobile. It's
Mm-hmm.
viewing before and afters in a mobile environment, knowing that in some cases it could be 60, 70, 75% of the traffic that comes to a website and are viewing your gallery. They're viewing it on instead of doctors always looking at it on their desktop or, this 17-inch, 20-inch monitor. That's not how consumers are consuming your photographs. So how it projects in mobile, thoughtful, right? It's got to be thoughtful in terms of how we're projecting that. But I also love the idea, TK, when you're saying patients, this is me. I think years ago, I used to have doctors say they were bringing in photos, that they would be capturing on their website. They print a page of the website, a before and after, and bring the photo in and say, this is what I'm interested in, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that is
now they take their phone, they've made that My Favorites, they type their email address in, and there they are.
That to me is, takes it off of the virtual and out of sight, out of mind, and brings it into the consultation room.
Yeah.
Which I think is a huge benefit for what you guys have developed. So do me a favor, for our audience that may not be familiar with BragBook, how can they learn more about it? How can they get an idea of what it looks like? How can they get in touch with you guys?
Yeah, so the website is bragbookgallery.com. If you search BragBook before and after gallery, it should be the first one that comes up. My email address is tk@candacecrowe.com. We'll put it in the show notes. Candace's is candace@candacecrowe.com. We do have some demo videos on there where you can kind of look at the dashboard as well as some of the front-end implementations.
Also, if you are a MedShark client, be sure to let Bill know, because they are a partner of ours, and we take good care of anybody that is one of their clients.
Yes, absolutely. No, and you guys are so easy to work with. Right? You guys make it easy to work with, which I think is an important part of this, because there's, let's face it, the doctors and practices have so much on their plate, so many moving parts in a business, and even just in marketing alone, having partners that you don't have to worry about or remove stress, it's a big part of helping a practice grow. Right.
And this is truly a good partnership with MedShark, because, when we have a mutual client, we actually meet together and we make sure everything is set up properly, and then we review that, and if the client wants any edits, we make those edits, and, we just monitor the SEO of that and just kind of help out wherever we can on that. So it's not just, buy it and or sign up and
Hmm.
you're forgotten. It's
Right.
really, really, truly a partnership where, we have the mutual, you know, success of that site together.
No, and I'm not indirectly in those. I know John and some of our other account managers and stuff are dealing with you guys, but I love the idea of the data that they can pull from there. Can always help us in terms of our design, because at the end of the day, it's about conversions.
Yeah,
That's what
and it holds their gallery accountable. It holds our work accountable to have a partner like Blue Shark that actually looks at these analytics and,
Yeah,
says, "Hey, what can we do about this?" Or, "Dang,
yeah,
that site's rocking it."
yes,
Yeah.
exactly. What can we do to take that and apply it elsewhere, right?
Yeah.
So super. Well, hey, thank you again for all of your time and expertise today. Um, I'm looking forward. Actually, we're going to be seeing you in a couple of weeks here at the Flora Society meeting. So I'm looking forward to that. And if anybody's attending that, please be sure and stop in and visit with Candace and Bragbook. I'm sure they can show you a lot of stuff at the booth there as well.
Perfect. Thank you,
All
Bill.
right. You
Thank you.
guys
Bill.
take care.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right. Take care. Bye bye.
Bye.
Thanks for joining us for the MedShark Insider with Bill Fukui. Join us next week for another dive into all things medical marketing. All episodes can be streamed at www.medsharkdigital.com/medshark-insider.